Hey, it's BT with Tales from a Gemini, and my guest is Nate Jackson. Nate Jackson is a two-time wrestling All-American from Indiana University, and he was recently in the Final X against Jaden Cox in a 92-kilogram category. He came out of nowhere and forced a third match, one of the greatest in the world. And let me tell you something, this guy is an inspiration for people who wonder, am I good enough? And we talk about that. We talk about the mental aspects of wrestling, how the outside world prepares you for wrestling and all that he went through. And I tell you, if you're not a wrestling fan, I think you're going to enjoy this talk. So hear my talk with Nate Jackson. You ready, Mike? What? Thanks, buddy. Are you going to get the timer back? Yeah, man. I'm so excited for this. I might just skip the music. That's how excited I am. 1, 2, 3. Hey, it's BT with Tales from a Gemini. And man, I love all my guests. I really do. But when there's a wrestler there, it's just, it gives me a certain more energy. And today, this guy, I feel a kinship with him in every way, and we'll get to it. But this guy, no one has a better, just scary-ass wrestler name than Nate Jackson. If somebody goes, hey, man, Nate Jackson's looking for you, you go, huh? I mean, you can't beat a better name than that, can you? Why? Nate Jackson. Think about it. Hey, man, Nate Jackson. Who? Nate who? And then you're running. And this guy he's the Pride of Marian Catholic from Chicago Heights, Illinois. This guy was a Final X competitor. He took Jaden Cox to the best 2 out of 3 to a third match. This guy, I'm telling you, man, I just love his energy. I love what he brings to the table. And when I was talking to my dad, he goes, who you got on the show? I said, I got this wrestler. He goes, where's he from? I go, I got to do my research. I'll find out later, Daddy. Finds out, you went to IU and I'm in Indianapolis.
You're in Indianapolis right now? Okay.
I'm in Indianapolis right now. When I found out you went to IU, I go, are you serious? But we could have been bros. I could have came down there and helped you wrestle. I could have came down there. I could have came down there and helped you, get into shape because I still got a little something left,
No, man, that sounds good, dude. That sounds good. You can still do it. You just got to drive to Jersey.
Brother, I still got it. I mean, you ain't the only one that still got it. I still got a little something left. I mean, I'm not going to, get in your business like that because it's all about you, Dad. It's all about you right now. It's all about you. But Nate, let me tell you something, man. I love everything you've done as far as the mental game because we'll get into, the matches and everything, but how you, at one time were almost out of the sport. And then what you had to go through. People don't realize that mental you had to go through. But getting to that, to me, I think your biggest accomplishment to me was that you beat Bo Nickel. And I always thought Bo Nickel was one of the best. I really do. And then I was doing I go, oh my God, this guy beat Bo Nickel. Would you consider that one of your biggest accomplishment in NCAA wrestling?
In NCAA wrestling, for sure. Bo did everything. He was a 3-time national champ, 4-time finalist, prolific scorer, pinner, winner. He puts a little flair on the sport. He did everything within the sport. So to have a win over him NCAA wise, it's kind of cool. Like doing little camps and stuff. And people are like, you beat who? And now he's transitioning to MMA and he's knocking dudes out. So as long as he continues to build his legacy, my legacy will continue to grow. So it's a cool thing.
But what made him so tough? I mean, from the outside looking in, I could tell, but he had great length. But you have great length also. So do you think that helped you in your victory over him?
For sure. I think Bo has a style where he's wide open and he's fearless, right? So in order to get people in the positions where you can pin them and doing some of those throws and whatnot, you got to have a mental game that's pretty sharp and you got to trust yourself. So one big thing that it's almost delusional for me. Like I got delusional confidence. So I had to lose 9 pounds that morning before I wrestled him. Really tough weight cut. But I was ready for him and I thought I would beat him. I thought I'd present some challenges because of my length and I was prepared for some of his throws and whatnot. And then just being tough and came out on top. So it was right after he had become the number 1 ranked wrestler in the country too. It was like his first week becoming the number 1 in the country and whatnot. So it was good, man. It was a cool moment. It was really cool to do that, not too far from you in Bloomington. So right in front of the home crowd.
Now did that help you mentally? Because, I mean, I don't know at the time, and I apologize because when you came up on the scene just recently, I always peek in at wrestling and see what's going on. And, the Fine Lexus is going on. And then I go, who's this Nate Jackson dude? And I apologize. I was like, because I thought I knew everything about wrestling. I knew Burroughs, I knew, Jaden, I knew some of the other guys. And I go, who's this Nate Jackson dude? And I was pulling for you because to me, you're an underdog. So in a sense, did you consider yourself an underdog when you wrestled Bo? Even though he was ranked number 1, did you have a little chip on your shoulder like, hey, I'm actually pretty good too?
Yeah, I carry that chip. It's been there for a while. So going into the Jaden Cox match, obviously Jaden is a legend in our sport. Within USA Wrestling, he's done everything. He's a world champ. He brought home multiple Olympic medals. So he's the man. He's the man. And what he's done in the sport, for me, it's like, hey, I want to do those things. I want to create some of the opportunity that comes with that exposure and with those, accomplishments. Mm-hmm. And then Bo is more of the same. He was a highly touted recruit. He was on fire, man. He was packing dudes who were, top 5 in the country, which is crazy. And for me, again, like it can sound a little delusional, but going into those matches, I don't think you win those unless you think that you're going to win. So for me, like I know my ability and where I was. I look back at some of those matches in college, and I sucked at wrestling. So it's good that I was able to kind of shake out a good career out of it. But I'm a lot better at wrestling now. And you talk about 2 out of 3 with Jaden. It's like we're right there. I feel like if we had a 4th match, I would have made the necessary adjustments. He made great adjustments in the 3rd match. But at the same time, it's like, you got to perform that day. And I just need to get a lot better. I've been growing a lot in the last couple of years. So just continue to elevate my level, take another step up. And then I don't have to have the best day to beat a Jaden Cox. And that'll put me in a good place because I truly believe, and I told him this right after the match, hey, you're going to be a world champ. Like, you beat me, you're going to be a world champ this year. Let's go do it. Go do it. So, yeah, man, my goals are pretty lofty, but, I think I'm right there. I think people see now, they're like, okay, this dude is literally right there. Nobody's going to be surprised when I do what I plan on doing. So I'm excited.
Well, you mentioned the word growth, and you literally grew in wrestling because you're one of the few, and people don't realize when you're talking about Division I wrestlers, don't let this smile and everything fool you. Man, they're animals. I mean, I was telling my producer, Wyatt, I said, I wrestled in junior college. And I remember, and I told him, I said, when you wrestle those guys who are assistant coaches, you go to these open tournaments and they wrestle unattached. Now, I didn't know what unattached was until I went to an open tournament. And those are the guys that take the whistle off and they go, I'll be right back. And they go out and they put a whooping on you. And I didn't realize that until I wrestled junior college. And I was like, wow, what just happened? And so, I mean, if you don't know what wrestling is, in Division I wrestling, these are the animals. These are the monsters. Don't let the smile fool you. He's a nice guy, I'm sure, when you meet him on his, but he is a monster. So when you stay in a certain weight class, because 5 pounds makes all the difference. And you were only one of, I think, the 6th wrestler in IU history to become an All-American in 2 different weight classes. And you grew, and there's a mentality to that. Now, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was growing a lot. So believe it or not, I was like one of the shortest guys in my class going into high school. So I was like, 5'2" or something. I wrestled. Tried to wrestle 103, wrestled 112 my freshman year in high school.
5'2"? You were 5'2"?
I was a little dude, man. I was little my whole life. My dad hit a late growth spurt, and he was like, "Hey, man, son, you're gonna be tall. Don't worry about it. You're gonna be good." He's like a 6 foot tall man, but he was really short. And all of my siblings were all pretty tall. We all hit late growth spurts by younger brothers. So he was right. So I went from 112 to 140. To 152 to 170 in a really short period of time. So that was over my high school career. Obviously going from 5'2" to almost 6 feet. And I continued to grow while I was in college. So right now I'm 6'3". I hope I'm not growing still because I don't really need that anymore. But it's pretty surreal, and you think about the mental game of being that small guy. Even being a smaller guy in a wrestling room, you got to be a little bit more scrappy.
Right.
Some of those things translate well in just, wrestling bigger opponents. I wrestled Kyle Snyder last year. I wrestled Jaden when I was a lot smaller last year. having the confidence to go up and then just kind of trust yourself. So, wrestling is wrestling, and you're talking about wild animals. There's no weight classes in the wild. So figure out how to wrestle better and then, perform.
Oh, I like that. There's no weight classes in the wild. Oh, that's a good one. That is a good, it really is. I mean, I like that one. There's no weight classes in the wild. I'm going to use that one, brother. I mean, I like that. But it's so true. I mean, you went from 5 to basically, you went from Muggsy Bogues to a power forward, basically, is what you went to. And
right.
that's true. So, like, the good thing about it was you were able to eat, right? I mean, you got a chance to eat. But
yes.
But you also learned, like when you're smaller in basketball, okay, you can handle the rock. Even though you got taller, you can handle the rock. So when it comes to wrestling, did it help you become, maybe a little bit quicker? You can maybe, work the moves like a smaller man, like your singles and your doubles. By the way, we talk about Jordan Burroughs having a great double. My God, you've got a great double. But you don't call yours a power. What do you call yours? It's a different word you call yours.
So the fans, just from popular choice, they call it the cram double.
Why is that?
So actually, I was in Minsk, Belarus, and it's this guy. His name is Tony Baker. You may have heard of him. He's pretty funny. He does voiceovers for these different animals, right? Yes. So he'll do voiceover. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. Yeah, I know Tony.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, I follow him on Instagram. Me and my coach, Reese Humphrey, are watching videos the entire weekend. And I was having a great weekend. I ended up winning the Medved, which is an international competition in Minsk, Belarus. Wrestled maybe 3 Russians in the tournament. It was pretty cool, man. But my double leg was really popping. And we were like going through the videos and like editing the videos, and I made some edits and voiceover, just like cram, like as I was hitting the guy, and it swept through the wrestling community so fast. And I think one thing that I kind of bring to the sport, which is a little bit different, like I'm going to be myself all the time, no matter where I am. I'm comfortable in my skin. And I try to have fun with my experiences, you know what I mean? So I think that's one thing that wrestling kind of lacks. There's nobody who has any flair. There's nobody, like some of the things that make us great: discipline, hard-nosed, tough, blue collar, work ethic, et cetera, et cetera. There's some of the things that hold us back as well. And I think our sport is like a primal sport. Like it's very easy to follow. You know who's winning, you know who's losing, you know who's tough, you know if it's a fight, you know if it's a scrap, you know when it's close. From a casual fan. So for us, we got to market ourselves a little bit more creatively. Yes. I think people a little bit further outside the wrestling community, once they get in and start to see some of the potential there with just marketability and the business, I think that's when our sport's really going to take off. Some of the guys, you see NIL deals and whatnot. Some of the guys are starting to figure that out. And they're starting to make money while they're in college, which is really cool. And I could have used that. I could have used that. Like, oh man, you guys got NILs now?
Yes, I know. Trust me, I know, man. It's like, but you know what? But you're getting the tail end of it, which is great. But if you were just, you're a little bit before your time, unfortunately. You know what I mean? But at the same time, and you mentioned that, and that's what drew me. That's another thing that drew me to you, because I said, who's this Nate Jackson guy? And I saw you only have like 5 posts on your Instagram, but they're all just real. My favorite ones are when you're in the glasses and you're on the mat, and I'm like, I like this dude. And it's so true. And I think, to me personally, one of the guys who is helping you guys get to that point is Gabriel Stevenson. He has a little flair. He's a big man. He can do a somersault. He can do a backflip, and he's a little nasty when you get on the mat, and that's what you need, I mean, like I said, when it comes to the primal sports, man, that's one where even in this politically correct society where everybody's getting canceled, whatever, hey, man, when it comes down to it, when you guys are in the jungle and you're animals, and like you said, there's no weight class for animals, and the animals got to do what they got to do. Like they always say, big dog got to eat. So, and the fact that you have a little flair to it, and you do have a little flair. I mean, like it's not cocky, it's not whatever, but it's funny, and I like it. It's like little like, shh. I love that. And that's when I posted that. Shh, dude, I love it. You are, honestly, I think you are a gold mine right now. And I was going to get to this later, but I had to, because you mentioned the Medved. Mention the fight you got in at the Medved, the scrap you got in the gold medal match.
Yeah, so I wrestled this guy, Gabriel Shapiro. He had been to multiple world championships representing, Uzbekistan, actually. Okay. And he was, top 5 in the world when I wrestled him. And, man, we were fighting, dude. Like, I hit him with a double right off the rip. It was like, bro, did you not watch the matches before? It was like maybe a couple seconds into the match, the ref blows the whistle. I pop him with a double, hit him, take him down. He's like, all right. He's clubbing me, he's swatting me. And I think that was a huge mental shift for me. Like, when he gets scrappy, when he gets physical, when I get scored on, when things aren't working, some of those matches I tended to lose in the past. And that was like the first time that I was in a dog fight, and I ended up winning 7-4. And I just had to get tough. And, that was really cool. Then we were able to have a really good time out in Minsk that night. It's pretty crazy that Minsk is in the situation it is now, just with all the political turmoil and whatnot, because we were right in that, hanging out with the commoners and the townsfolk and just having a good time following that match. But, man, that was a really cool and pivotal moment in my career. So it's cool. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
Did you guys end up patching it up? Did you guys end up going out later on that night and go, hey, my friend, the story about you hitting me? I mean, did you guys get together or you guys still kind of like, I remember that?
Yeah, no, dude. So I seen him at World Championships because that year I actually went as a training partner. I didn't make the team, but I went as a training partner. I saw him and we kind of like caught back up. He follows me on the Instagram and, it's cool. Because I won, I don't know how I would feel if if I would have lost. I may not be following him and hanging out with him as much, but man, these guys are all the same. Like, I lost the competition in the semifinals. It's actually a bracket that me and Jaden were a part of at Poland last year. I took bronze. Jaden, I think he got sick or something, so he actually couldn't finish. The guy who won, this Poland guy's name is Zbigniew Baranowski. He's a really good friend of mine now. He actually came this year and we trained for maybe like 4 months in Jersey. And he's one of the biggest reasons that I was able to jump levels just because of his shot defense, right? So his shot defense is really good. I lost a 7-6 match to him there. Zbigniew, if you're watching, I've been kicking your ass for the last 4 months. You know what I mean? So you got me ready. You got me right. No, I'm kidding. No, but he's the best. He's going to be, he's 97 kilos. So he'll be at World Championships after their qualifier or whatnot. But he's the man, and that's a big reason why I got better. So just networking with those international competitors, sometimes it makes sense to make a friend out there because you never know what you'll need.
Well, like to say, iron sharpens iron, man. And I think that's the beauty of the primal sport. The beauty of primal sports is you're going, let's just say me and you scrapped, right? I mean, we would go at it, throwing elbow, whatever, you know what I mean? But when it's over, it's like, hey, man, you hungry? Let's go get something. And people don't understand, unless you're in it, you don't understand it. And I think that's the beauty of the sport. I mean, we talk about gentlemanly sports like baseball, whatever, but when baseball's over in the World Series, they don't shake hands like wrestlers do. I mean, you're going at it, you're trying to annihilate somebody, but once that whistle blows, for the most part, it's over. I mean, I've seen those old film clips of some of them Russians. Man, sometimes when it's over, it ain't exactly over.
No, sure.
Are they as dirty as they say they are on the mat now? Are they as dirty as they say? And what is it that they're doing dirty that we don't see? Because I've watched matches, and I see the obvious clubs with one Cuban club, what's his name? And he came back and whooped his head. I thought that was beautiful. But what is it they do that's just dirty that I don't see? Because, I mean, I remember Burroughs mentioned it also.
So I think it's interesting. Like, that's a good question. For me, I have a lot of success against Russians. I've wrestled 4 and I've lost 1. So in the one I lost, I was killing the dude and then kind of got caught up in a throw. That was actually in Vladikavkaz, Russia, which is in the Caucasus Mountains. It's kind of crazy. Cool little spot. But from my understanding, they're just like everybody else, man. Like, they're competitors. They compete. I think Jordan probably had a unique experience because he had beaten all their best guys. A lot of those guys are successful. So you see a Russian in the bracket, like they're doing pretty well unless there's a bunch of Russians in the bracket. So being successful, like, you have a standard that you try to upkeep, but you're a competitor, man. It's like fiery competition. Obviously you think about doping scandals and things like that. There's some bad blood between public opinion in Russia. So they have a lot of pride, and when they go out there, they expect to win, and they hold themselves to a high standard. So you can definitely anticipate a scrap, but I think you think about some of our best competitors, right? You think about Brett Metcalf, you think about Frank Molinaro, you think about like these guys are chippy guys. You know what I mean? Like they're on edge. Me, dude, if you smack me during a match, yo, I'm hitting you back hard. Me and Jaden, we got so physical. Like, dude, me and Jaden, when I tell you me and Jaden are boys, like, I might call Jaden in a couple minutes, you know, like me and Jaden are boys.
Yeah.
But if you watch the match, you know, afterward, you know, eyes are swollen. We're hitting each other, man, because our sport demands that, you know, it demands that type of attention if we want to be at the highest level of it. Right. So for me, it's like, yo, you want to take this from me, or am I trying to take this from you? You know, all right, match my intensity, match my intensity, match my intensity. I can respect it a lot. When you think about JB, you think about guys poking him in the eyes. You think about a lot of stuff that actually can be stopped with you know, referee intervention a little bit. And I think that's where some of that bad blood comes in. I think about JB and his career and what he's done, just legacy wise. Right. And then you think about the doping scandal for him. It hits a lot different because you talk about multiple more championships. Had some of those competitors not been allowed to compete. So he has a whole different type of focus because he's trying to do this. But as a competitor and as just a straight up athlete, man, those dudes are no different than anybody else. They just wear a different flag.
Now, I was gonna get this later, but you mentioned it, and it's a doping scandal. Now, here's the thing, and I know this hits you differently because I remember watching Canelo, and Canelo one time he said he got busted for performance enhancing drugs. He goes, "Hey man, I got some tainted meat," and everybody that's unaware was like, "Yeah, whatever." But actually, that happened to you, and correct me if I'm wrong. It was at the Pan Ams in Guatemala. Am I not right?
Oh, you got it.
Okay, yeah. Now, they said that you had, well, I guess, you tell the story. It's your story. And which I think was messed up. But also, did it help you become maybe a plant-based athlete? You know, I'm done with meat now.
So, believe it or not, I was actually vegan for a couple years in my youth. And I was a vegetarian from like the 3rd grade to college. Okay. So, we changed our diet just because my parents thought that was better for them, and we eat what they cook. So dieting and just getting nutrition from food is something that's commonplace for me. I grew up kind of, you know, knowing the things I need. I'm not taking whey protein. I'm not really taking any supplements. I don't have a daily vitamin, things like that. I stay away from. So when I get a call from Bill Zadig, and he's saying, "Hey, like this is going on. This happened. You have an atypical finding." Blah, blah, blah. I instantly turn to like, okay, whose water bottle did I drink of? Who's whatever? Like, I'm looking for the source. And when I weeded that out, and then I learned that other athletes at the event had tested positive for other substances, I knew right away that there was something going on in that area. So for me, it should have been an open and shut case. And there were some hurdles to jump over. So I was notified in December. And I competed in May. So it didn't make any sense for me to be notified 6 months after my competition. It should have been a couple of weeks. So for me, that and I'm still in this place because I don't have an answer. You know, when I'm standing before, at my hearing, I'm standing before basically an arbiter. I'm like, hey, like this is one big question I still have. What happened in between notifying me here versus here? Because I would have had a lot more time to get this resolved. I would have, you know, I'm missing out on opportunities to make money, missing out on opportunities to compete, miss Bill Farrell, miss U.S. Open to defend my U.S. Open title, and missed opportunities to qualify for World Team Trials. So I actually have to go to last chance. But in the meantime, like we're going back and forth with USADA and the ITA, sending them information, trying to send documents like, hey, these are all the places I ate. This is where I went to at the hotel, blah, blah, blah. And just waiting for them to say, okay, all good, because we have this amount of people in there. We never got to that point. And once we got past the U.S. Open, other athletes that were in a similar situation than me, they were cleared and I wasn't. So I was the only guy who wasn't. And for me, that hit me different. I feel like I wasn't protected by USA Wrestling, honestly. I feel like I was kind of out there and I got jaded about it. But also in that process, you know, it's a waiting game. Like, hey, if I can't compete and the penalty for this, for being, you know, charged with this infraction is being off for 4 years. I'm a married man. I got 4 kids. They depend on me, and there's no way in hell that I'm going to take 4 years off of something that puts bread on the table. You know what I mean? So I started looking outside of the sport. I started looking within the sport in different areas, but also that stain from being a person that was found guilty of testing positive of some performance enhancing drug. That wouldn't look good. Like, hey, Coach Jackson, do you think I should? No, man. Like, I know, because I have kids, and you're entrusting some adult with your kids and mentorship and all this stuff. And also, I'm a person of integrity, so it just kind of diminished my relationship with the sport greatly, man. Like, I was on the way out. What brought me back was I had a really good team around me. Toboso, who is the USA Wrestling team leader for this cycle. And then I had two really good lawyers that had some experience in this area, but there had never been a test of boldenone that was overturned in the history of athletics.
Wow.
So I was like, this is not going to happen for me. And I was getting ducks in order to move on. I had my hearing the week of last chance qualifier, right? So the Monday before the Friday, I had my meeting. After my meeting, they say, hey, we won't have an answer until Thursday. Thursday comes and goes. I had no answer. I got an answer the day of my competition. Or no, the night before my competition. So I literally slept in my own bed. Thankfully, last chance qualifier was in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So it was about a 2-hour drive. I woke up, drove, and then was completely out of it. Like, mentally, I was like, hey, hopefully wrestling is like riding a bike. I had a cool experience. I took care of business, got qualified for World Team Trials, and then was dialed in at World Team Trials. And it was good. But in my mind right now, even, it's like, hey, what happened exactly? Because we have athletes, and I'm not going to say anybody. And, we had athletes that competed at World Championships and in the Olympic Games, and they had findings that were on the radar too. And they weren't notified until after they competed. So I'm like, bro, like, I would have liked to get my money first and then get notified. Everybody, we can have it our own way, and I can pick and choose the time that I get to be notified and start my provisionary suspension. I would have picked a different time. But man, there's still some questions there. And for me, I'm happy that I'm the representative, because I know myself. I don't do anything that's in any violation or anything within our sport. I'm a person of high character, and there's a lot of people who look up to me, so I can speak to it and speak candidly about it. But it's made me question, other individuals that have tested positive in the past for different substances, because it really is easy.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, is that, because like I said, when I first looked at, Canelo said, I said, meat, really, bro? And then, I see your case. And did you think the same thing also? Like, sometimes you would, although you're actually in the sport, like when somebody else would test positive, say Canelo, that's a great case, because it's kind of similar to yours. He said it was meat. And so did you ever go like, yeah, man, whatever. And now that it's happened to you, it makes you question, like, wow, what's going on out there? And also, there had to be a sense of frustration, like you said, like USA, you gotta feel like they abandon you a little bit, and they're kind of shuffling their feet. I want to go wrestle. This is my livelihood. You're shuffling your feet. I'm losing money. I'm training, but I don't know. I mean, the mental behind all that, and the fact that you still went out there and took care of business, that shows your mental fortitude, man.
Yeah, man, it's a weird thing, man. Like, our sport prepares us for a lot, and
yes.
It prepares us for persevering and just enduring some situations that aren't really great and that most people would run out of. And I have to admit, like, there were times where I wanted to run out of stuff, and it affected not only like me on the mat and my training, right? Because it's hard to stay motivated if you don't think you're going. And yes. I'm a logical guy. I'm like, like, this hasn't happened before. I looked up all the cases. Hey guys, this is not happening.
Yeah.
So for my coach, he had to be creative and just keeping me motivated. But it also affected me off the mat. I got relationships with my wife, my kids. And for that to be taken away is such an important thing in my life. And you forget about it in that sense. And it's taken away, and it affected me and it affected them. And then you still got life, and you still got responsibilities, and you still got work, and you still, I'm a guy who wears a lot of different hats. So I can't afford to not be 100%. And I wasn't 100% for a long time. So Yeah, man. I really credit the sport for preparing me for something like that. I think that if someone else had been in that situation, they may have caved. They may have not did as much as I did to make sure that I was vindicated. And they would have just took the suspension, and then, maybe rode off into the sunset as a retired wrestler. So I'm happy to be the torchbearer for that, because now somebody will have Nate Jackson to look at it and say, oh, well, in this case, this happened. Now the ITA is investigating Guatemala and their practices. I mean, I had a burger, man. It was a half a pound burger that was probably contaminated. And also it had a piece of Guatemalan ham on it that was also probably contaminated. So it's a lot, man. It's a lot of things out there to kind of snare us. But, if you have a good foundation, which I think what wrestling is, you could be prepared for it.
You should have stayed plant-based. You don't get that from a salad there, Nate. You should have stayed plant-based, Nate. I don't want to sound like your daddy, but I'm being your daddy right now, Nate. You should have stayed plant-based, boy. That's what you should have done.
Right, man. Hey, hook me up, man. I'm down to try anything. I'm actually tired of this meat thing. It's hard, but yeah, go ahead.
No. It's your time, Nate. But honestly, what I do is I'm where you're at now. I'm vegetarian, borderline vegan, which is kind of like being a born again Christian, but you only go to school, but you only go to church on Easter Sunday. I'm kind of like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely vegetarian. I'm a strict vegetarian, but when I can go vegan, I do. But like I won't freak out if you put feta on my on my stuff. Like, is that cheese? I don't mind. I don't freak out that much. But yeah. So honestly, what I want to know is like, and this is I don't like to go negative, because when you're a wrestler, you're a competitive athlete and you're in it, it's all about positive. And I love what you talk about, the mental mindset. We'll get there later. But did you think like, okay, if it doesn't work, where would you go? If they go, hey, you can't wrestle for 4 more years, what would you have done? I mean, where would Nate and his family be now? What would you be doing?
Yeah. So I'm pretty blessed, man. Like I'm blessed to have struggled through things before. So again, like I started having kids very early, my wife and I.
What time?
So,
how were you? How were you?
So she was 16 and pregnant. We were both 17.
Oh my God, Nate.
It's a lot of questions. Like you talk about where are you going? It's like, it's a lot of faith. You talk about just kind of trying to stay solid and just enduring. But going through college, we actually made a choice to have my daughter right after we had our son. So we had our son, our daughter came 18 months later. We were in college. It must have mean things were going at least some sort of okay. But it took a lot of work, man. My dad is a barber. He owns a barber shop. So I didn't enroll in the fall semester like most athletes. I enrolled in the spring semester because my son was born and I got my barber's license at home in Chicago. And then once I went to school, I was by myself. My wife actually had to finish high school. So she had to finish high school. I was in Bloomington for 4 months. I seen my son every weekend. I went up to try to cut hair at the barbershop to make a little bit extra money. My parents did most of the heavy lifting. And then we got to campus. You think about, I was a fully scholarship athlete, fully packaged athlete.
Yeah.
And I thought that, hey, we were going to be okay. We're going to have housing taken care of. And we had a culture shock, it was a lot more to it. So we spent a couple months in a hotel. I had to drop all my classes, do like crazy stuff. So like one day I'm going to tell this story all the way through and it'll be something for somebody. I haven't figured out exactly how to piece it together, but I know that because of those experiences, I can do anything. And because of those experiences and those unique circumstances that come with being in my position, I wanted to get in front of kids and I wanted to be a mentor. So I started, me and some other prominent wrestlers started this organization called Black Wrestling Association. And it's meant to be a big brother, big sister, really create insulation for Black wrestlers and anybody who identifies with Black wrestlers and the differences in their experience, especially at the collegiate level, but even at the lower level, just to remain within the sport. I was thinking, okay, well, we're doing this. It's running. It's been going for 2 years. I could transition into a full-time position there. I was thinking, hey, man, like my dad still has that barbershop and I still got this barber's license. Like I can do that there with some support.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, hey, coaching opportunities and whatnot, and what would that look like with this case kind of pending and whatnot. But it was a lot of negotiation, man. It was a lot of trying to think outside the box and figure it all out. But I'm really happy to not have to go down any road. I can continue down the path that I'm on, and continue to just make gains and grow where I am while I'm still doing the things that I care about. I'm still part of BWA, still networking with different colleges and trying to connect. And, so it's cool.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to talk about that, because I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, because I think Burrow's got a little blowback, because on the opposite end from other people who say, hey, why do you need a Black Wrestling Coaches Association? Blah 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 blah. So if somebody asks you that and they're playing devil's advocate, like, I don't understand why you need a black man, because wrestling's inclusive, so why you need a Black Coaches Wrestling? Blah, blah, blah. What would you say to that?
Yeah, so I think that the biggest blowback we get is like, what if I started a white wrestling association?
Exactly.
And my response to that is, if you think that white wrestlers aren't supported within the sport and you have evidence, if you have data that can back that up, I would be an advocate for that, because I think that everybody should be included in the sport. The thing is, we have data. We have evidence as to why and where the kids are falling off, where they're not supported. I lived it. A lot of the guys in here in the organization who founded the organization, we lived that experience. My coach was a great coach, a great man, and he helped me in a lot of different ways. But the challenges that I had were foreign to him. He couldn't understand the challenges that I had, so he couldn't be there to support me.
As in, like, what kind of challenges? As in,
financial challenges. Some of the things where, hey, like, I don't know how to fill out this type of, let's say, this clearinghouse or something like that, so I can release my funds so I can live. Because most of the kids who go there, they have that background. And my parents went to college, but they went to local community colleges and didn't live on campus. Yeah. It's a completely different culture. Mm-hmm. And, last night I was actually at this benefit for HBCUW. It was actually in New York, in Manhattan. And a mentor of mine, Kerry McCoy, was talking about just different people that he's come in contact with, like Nate Parker, a guy I know, Akil Patterson, Jahi Jones, who's the executive director of HBCUW, and their different experiences. And, Kerry McCoy, he had a guy living with him at one point, because if that's what the kid needed to get right and be able to stay in school and right the ship and have that guidance, that's what he was doing. And it's because of, kind of some of the things in his background that, were barriers to just achieving that excellence. So again, I think a lot of it is experience. And, for the people who, I think the word saying Black Wrestling Association, if we would have called it something different, if we would have called it, I don't know, Beat the Streets or something like that, people will receive it a lot different.
Yes.
But I think the need is specific. I think the need is specific. We always talk about getting people out of this situation, getting people out of the hood, getting people out of the ghetto, getting people, whatever, getting people educated, all this stuff, as if we need to take someone and put them somewhere in order to give them something. What happens is there's individuals like me, yourself, Carrie, whatever, we're actually broken apart from the community that needs development. So what BWA is actually trying to do is trying to create development within the areas that need development. So then we don't have to ask anybody for anything. We don't have to be swept away, and we don't have to get out of the hood, but the hood can become America like everywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we can have some of those opportunities and resource sharing. So it's a lot of things that we've kind of started to break ground on specifically. But just generally, it's something that everybody can play a part in. We got all these different celebrations for inclusivity and things like that. It's like, where are you on that line? And it makes people ask a question. And if it's not important to you, you could just ask a stupid question and then walk away, which you were going to do anyways. You weren't going to be in anyways. Right. And that's not who we're targeting. So it's not too much of a barrier for us.
Man, I'm so glad you explained it, and I saw what Burroughs went through. Somebody asked him online, one of the comments on Instagram, and I was like, really? Which I knew was coming. And I'm so glad once you say Black, sometimes people they automatically like, oh my God, Yeah. Well, why you gotta be like that? I mean, it's different. It's like, listen, we're not. And beside that, I think what's great is it's gonna bring wrestling programs to HBCUs, which I think is great. You know, I think when I was young watching Ncaa's on TV, I think it was Morgan State, one of those schools, and they had a wrestling team, and I just love the sport so much that I want it to be everywhere. I mean, if it was up to me, I wish the SEC would bring in wrestling. Man. You know, I mean, because think about it. I always say this. I mean, Alabama alone, if what you do is wherever they go, wherever there's a SEC football game, the Friday night before, have the wrestlers from that school wrestle each other. Maybe on the football field. It's in the South, so it's going to be warm. I mean, that's how you could grow the sport. Wrestle in a stadium outside because it's the South, it's going to be warm. I mean, you could, wrestling's easy. You got 2 vans and there you go. And you can bring your own shoes. I mean, the sport is cheap.
Yeah. There's literally no barrier there. It's just for me at least, you know, like I grew up in a wrestling club. It's called the Harvey Twisters.
Yes, with the Tony,
they got Joe Williams. So many guys have come there. So many great mentors and great friends that I have. But dude, where I was in that wrestling room, when I tell you that there was at least 20 kids better than me in that room every day, you know what I mean? Like, and those kids are not problem kids. Like those kids are smart. Those kids are whatever. Why did that kid not stay in wrestling? What took them out of wrestling, especially in high school? What took them out? What made them not pursue wrestling at the end of their middle school? Like, it's because it's just not marketed to us either. So the more of us that get into it and we see the value in it, I mean, yes. Parents, it makes a lot of sense. You know, you talk about scholarship money and things like that. It's like, hey, these are the options, and it's not that hard, man. It's an organized fight. Yes. And you know, it's a mental challenge. And where's your ego aligned? Because if you have an ego, first of all, you're going to come in there, you're going to get humbled, right? You're going to get humbled, yes. And then you're going to have to make a decision to learn. And if you make a decision to start learning, then you can fall in love with learning. And I think that's why I'm still wrestling now, just because the sport is so fresh. I'm 27 years old. I don't have to continue to wrestle. I did my college career, you know what I mean? But I love it, man. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I can continue to learn and build. And as long as I can do that, I'll be doing it. I mean, why is JB still wrestling, man? He's done everything in the sport. He loves it. Watch him in a wrestling room. Me and him were in a wrestling room at Penn, and, you know, he's picking my brain on things, and he's constantly learning from everybody around him. That's one thing I tell my kids, like when I go to a camp, you know, look at your coach. You know, your coach is telling you some things that can help you because they've worked at some level. No matter who you are talking to, we kind of look, it's like, oh no, this is Bo Nickel. Like, I'm listening to everything he says. Coach, forget about you now.
Yeah.
You be a sponge, man. Take all that stuff in because you never know what's going to click.
I always say, even if you watch the crappiest movie ever, there's always a line or something you go, oh my, I mean, I've learned, even songs, I think some of the greatest songs that have lines that just resonate with me in life are from groups you go, really? I mean, there's a song the line from a song, Jeff from Starship, and the line, it hits me all the time. You go, no, it's too late now, but I wish I could go back in time and start all over somehow and get it right. And I think about that all the time. And that's why I love what you do and I love where you come from. And here's where I feel like, and it's no disrespect to you, but I feel like I resonate with you, was like, I've always like, was like, never like, and I just, you know, that runner-up. And, you know, it said, I was in an interview, it said you beat the odds. But I was like, did you consider yourself beating the odds? Or did you want to say, hey, man, I know I deserve to be here. So to you, it's beating the odds. But to me, it's like par for the course. And I'm ready to, you know, to go to another level.
Yeah, man, I think there's I don't know if you identify this way, but there's a little bit of like negotiation you do it yourself too. Like, damn, do I belong here?
Yes.
And then you have to prove it to yourself, man. Like, I remember my sophomore year in college, I made it to nationals for the first time, and I had a really close match with a guy who ended up placing. And I was like, oh shit, like I can do that. And then I did it. I was a junior, and then I did it. And I was like, oh, I seen the guy who won. He won, Bo won my junior year. And I was like, I can do that. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things, man. And the thing about like just being ready for that moment is so important. Like, you just got to be vigilant, man. You just got to stay focused and be ready. And that's one thing our sports really prepares us to do is just take opportunity, seize opportunity once it's there, because moments are fleeting, dude. A match is short. A season is long for a match to be as short as it is.
Yeah.
For me to wrestle 18 minutes, man, with Jaden, dude, like, I'm like, dude, we could have kept wrestling. If we had 5 matches, we would have fought every one because we were ready to just give everything.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, hey, this is where you are. This is where you are. This is where you are. You know where you want to be. For me, there's always that breakthrough. And I've always done the things, I never was a national champ in college, but I became a national champ on the senior level. I was never I never dreamed of being a world champ until I won Medved. And I was like, dude, I could be a world champ. And now, I beat a 2-time world champ. You know what I mean? So, like, it's right there. It's like, you don't really know when it'll happen. And I could be a legend in this sport. And we could be talking 2 years from now. And it's like, dude, like, you just won worlds twice and you won the Olympics. Like, what's going on, man? How do you feel? Where'd this come from? So you get to create your own story in our sport, which is pretty cool. Or you can be runner-up and it's still pretty cool. So I give myself my flowers. I gave myself my flowers after my matches. My son, who, he knows Jaden.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I didn't think you were going to win. You were pretty confident. You were pretty confident. And I was like, damn, you really didn't think I was going to win, huh? But no, I mean, that stuff really, really lights a fire. And our sport is so thankless too. It's like, all you have to do is chase that next goal. So I'm just chasing this next goal. I got my blinders on a little bit because I know people talk when you do bad, people talk when you do well, and people are going to talk when I do great. So I'm ready for that next part. People are like, hey, would you go to Worlds to be a training partner with something? It's like, I kind of did that already. Like, next time I go to Worlds, I want to win. So that's kind of where I am now, the tunnel vision. I say that, but I'm doing a lot of other stuff. I got interviews and things like, what I mean? Like, it's a lot of hats I wear constantly, and I'm constantly moving through different things. But I think right now, like, wrestling is really cool for me, and I want to see how far I can take it and then see where I am and where I stack up against the best.
Well, you're 27, man. I mean, you're still young. I mean, I know I've never been to that level in wrestling like you, but I mean, at my age now, I'm looking at you like, 27. If I could go back in time. I mean, I really do. And this is the way I think. And this is the way I think, you know what? If I really train for like a year right now, in my life right now, if I train for a year, hey, yeah, I might be able to give you one good match. I mean, that's just the way I think. And I know I say that as kind of as a joke, but, part of me kind of believes that. But being that you're 27, you can actually attain that. And so your mental, how do you go to that next step mentally and jump? And like you said, like you just said a while ago, like, how do you go, yes, I do belong here. Yes, I can beat this guy. And this guy barely beat me, and now he's on, he's in the final to be a world champion. I can beat this guy. I can do that. So how did you make that step mentally? Because that's what it's really about, is the 3 inches between your ears.
I think it's a combination of, like, being focused, right? Being focused and ready for that moment to happen, like that jump, right? Yeah. And then also, like, not putting too much pressure on yourself. So people, and I was like this, they think growth is linear, right? They think that it's one block after one block, build. And in a lot of ways, over time, it can look like that.
Yeah.
But man, dude, just within a year, it's like this, man. It's going up. You have moments where you're starting to peak or whatever, and you can have moments where you're really hitting the low. So you never know when that opportunity to really jump up that next step. So within these steps, it's doing this, but then boom, now you're here and then you're doing it. Boom, now you're here and you're doing it. So for me, like, I think that, I don't put too much pressure on myself. I make fun of myself, man. I don't take myself too seriously.
Right.
And then I just focus on, being prepared for that next opportunity, because that jump is going to come. It's there. Unless you know everything and you're impeccable and your timing is perfect. And but if you're not that, Jordan Burroughs is still looking for the next jump. If you're not that, you could be learning, you could be learning something, and then you can apply that. So I actually thought I made a pretty good jump in my second match. So my first match, I thought I wrestled pretty well against Jaden. I thought I should have won. I got the first takedown. I stayed really aggressive. I think I could have shut it down. So I made that adjustment in the second match, and I shut it down a little bit earlier and just relied on my reattacks, my defense, and my fakes. And, you know, you talk about like it's a game of inches. If I made that adjustment or I stuck to the game plan in that first match and won, and then Jaden made that adjustment in the second match and won, then I could have made the next adjustment and won, and then won the 2 out of 3. But, you know, that didn't happen. He won that first match. I made the adjustment and won the second match, and then he won that third one. You know, if we wrestled a fourth one, I think I would have won. If we wrestled a sixth one, he may have won, and you know, that's just the game we're at. And I think that's where we are level-wise. But, you know, it's clear to me. It's like, yo, you got to make another jump, because if you don't want to have this feeling again, you're going to have to get a little bit better. You can't rely on, you know, who made a good, you know, couple of seconds decisions. Yeah, dude, it's a game of inches. And even in whatever field you're in, whatever choice you make, you got to rely on your experience, but then also be receptive to just something new, right? And actually risking, you know, it's a lot of risk involved too. We protect what we love, you know, we don't want to mess up our high crotch because it's really good, you know, and coach is saying that the reason that you're not finishing this, you know, for me, it's a double leg. Hey, you're not finishing this double leg because you're hitting and then you're fading off to a side. And it's like, well, this double leg works great against everybody else. Like, what are you talking about? This is one of the best double legs in the world. You know, my first practice was 2 days ago, back in the mat. That was my first practice back in the wrestling room since this match. And we worked on double legs because my double leg needs to get a lot better. And you're just complimenting me on my double leg. Like, I don't think, dude, it's such minutia. And for me, I made a mental jump in that practice. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. That clicked. You know, I need to make sure I'm always doing this. I need to definitely incorporate this into my drill all the time. Yes, when I hit, I don't have to retract. Hit him again. Keep going with your head. Keep moving it forward. Finishing a double leg like I'd be finishing a single leg, dog on a bone. Like, dude. And for me, it's like, well, if I was able to do that in one practice, it's a lot more time for a lot of more practices. So I can get a lot better.
The fact that you said the word minutia made me go, I got to shut this interview down. I've never talked to anybody who's used the word minutia. I'm like, is that Princeton coming out of you now that you're a coach? You're all big time now. Like now that you're there, is that the difference between the Princeton and the dumb schools? Because you said minutia. I can't even spell minutia, and you just used that in a sentence the correct way, I'm assuming, because I never used the word minutia. I don't even know what minutia means, but I'm like, man, when you said that, honestly, I go, this match is over. I mean, when you said that would be the equivalent of you hitting me with a lap drop and I go, you know what, coach? It's over. It's done. Right. Yeah,
I'm the lights, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna stall out and I'm gonna tell him I got an injury because it's done. He used the word minutia, and I don't know what that word means. Is that the difference between Princeton and the other schools?
Princeton, there's some differences, man. The types of kids that come here are super exceptional. But they're faced with a lot of challenges that are unique. I think they're the toughest kids in the country, man, because, you know, they were the top kids in the classes. They prided themselves on being the best students, and they're also excellent wrestlers, which is why they're a part of our program. But they get here and they're getting killed, man. These people are, you know, this is what they live for, to crunch numbers and do all this other stuff. And, you know, you talk about pride and ego, and, you know, one thing we talk about is egoless training. With our partners and whatnot. We do it at NJRTC. We do it a part of our Princeton club. You got to be egoless in that classroom too, man, because if you don't have those blinders on and you're not just running your race and you're looking over here and seeing what they're doing, dude, that's going to bring you down. The mind is so important, and the body is following the mind. So if you're not performing like the guy next to you, you may forget to move your feet and continue to run your race in progress. And especially from a class setting, you know, you're going into this room where this guy's a genius, literally, you know, just completely different mind than you are. And these, again, the better we do, we want kids who are less and less smart to be. I'm kidding. You didn't hear that, John Mack. No. So I think
they got to get the right minutia, right? They got to get the right minutia.
Hey, hit those marks. That's it, man. Hit those marks. But, you know, to be able to keep a good spirit and then go into wrestling practice and then refocus, right? And then go back into that setting and, navigate that setting to make sure that your grades are where they need to be. Because honestly, man, like these kids, they graduate and then they're running the world. They're running the world. People are like always looking for a job and trying to get hired and, I'm going to land this great job. These guys who graduate Princeton are the job creators. So it's cool working with them. There's a lot of things that we don't have to deal with as a staff, especially just motivation. Like the kids all want to be something. We want them to love wrestling. And it's hard, sometimes school is too much and but all these kids have really high aspirations for their own lives. That's why they chose Princeton. They knew it was going to be rigorous. They knew it was going to be really, really tough and, a really long journey, but also very rewarding on the back end. And they're chasing that down. I know at IU, completely different type of kid, man. I was just happy to be there, and some issues arise with that. But at the same time, like looking at these kids, like they need guidance, they need mentors, and they have fun. They're regular kids too. And it's been super rewarding, man, just being here. I spent my first couple of years actually living in Princeton, which was nice. And now I live a town over. It's called Montgomery, and I got a little bit more space, and it's nice.
I mean, you can't beat that for a coach. You use big words like minutia. You can hit them with a fade if they need one. I mean, I'm sure. Mr. Monday has come over to you, and you probably hit him up. Before he went to the finals, and hit him up with the fade like, "Coach, you got to look good on that national stage." Yeah, I got you, man. And you go out there. I mean, what don't you do, Nate? What don't you do?
That's pretty funny. Yeah, dude. My Quincy's funny. Quincy's my guy. So I cut a couple guys on the team's hair. I've been cutting them since I've been there. And again, like I had to make some money, dude. You know what I mean? And that's who I am, though. I think go ahead.
You tell Quincy I'm mad at him because, I interviewed his dad twice. His dad is so cool to me. I mean, I grew up in Oklahoma with his dad. I grew up maybe 35 minutes from his dad. His dad was my idol growing up. I mean, when you grew up in Oklahoma, and like you said, man, there's only a couple African-Americans that are really good. You go, oh, Kenny. I mean, everybody. I mean, honestly, every black person in Oklahoma was like Kenny Monday. And so when I got a chance to see him in person when I was a kid, I was like, oh my God, there's Kenny Monday. And so to talk to him was a dream, and he's really cool now. I consider him a friend. Hit him up twice. We did 2 great interviews. So I said, well, let me try to talk to his son. I think I hit his son on a direct message. Nothing. Not even no.
I mean, silence.
Nothing. I mean, nothing. I'm like, really, bro? Really?
I'm gonna hit him up.
Yeah, just tell him I'm mad because I rooted for him in the finals. Obviously, I go, you know what? Even though he didn't hit me back, I'm still gonna root for the kid because he's a kid. Maybe he's like, I don't talk to this old dude. Whatever. I don't know how he looks at me. Like this old dude. I ain't gonna talk to this old dude. I got things I gotta do. But I'm mad at him. But I'm still rooting for him. Whatever. And I'm rooting for you. God, honestly, Quincy. Honestly, Nate, from the bottom of my heart, dude. You came in, and like I said, I apologize for not, knowing who you were. And you came in, I'm like, who is this dude? And when I found out, I wanted to know more. And I just kept going, this is my kind of guy. Because you gave Jaden his flowers I was watching on the Princeton Instagram. You gave it accolades. He should be a world champion. He kind of got screwed in the semis, blah, blah, blah. But you went out there and you did what people like myself who just feel like, yeah, am I good enough? And you went out there and you proved it to yourself. And more people, that are probably in my position or whatever, look up to you, knowing what you went through and was still able to focus, knowing your backstory, not even that you would be able to wrestle at all. And then you went 40-0 and you spoke into existence. Man, you are nothing but a role model for anybody. I don't care who you are, any wrestler, that's a boy or a girl. You're a great role model for wrestlers. You're a great role model, period, in life. And I think you're going to have a great career as a motivational speaker. I mean, you really are, because what you said, I have a friend who's in the military. He's in the special forces, and he said they look for wrestlers because of what you just talked about, that mental resolve. And man, I think you'll have the nation on your back. So in 5 years, man, where does Nate Jackson want to be in 5 years?
That's interesting, man. Like,
are you fighting in the UFC? Are you knocking people out and showing them your gold medal? Are you doing a commercial for Tide? Like, hey, it keeps the keeps the colors clean.
I think in 5 years, honestly, I think after I win a world title,
that's what I'm talking about.
I might be done, man. Like I think everything after that would just be gravy and, house money. But for me, I could see myself being in business, you know.
What kind of business? What kind of business?
I'm not 100% sure. I think I want to stay within wrestling.
Yeah.
And I can see myself being a leader within wrestling just because it's giving me everything. It's no wonder why the people who come through our sport stay connected to it, especially financially. I want to be that, you know. I want to be somebody who, you know, hey, that's Nate Jackson. Oh, wow, Nate's here. Okay, this is cool. And I want to be somebody special and important from people who come from places that I've come from. And I think that if I can do that while I'm supporting my kids and being able to see them grow and continue to grow. You know, my oldest is 9 years old, man, my son. And then I got 3 daughters, 8, 5, and 4.
Wow.
And just continue to see them realize what they want to do. I think in 5 years, man, my son's gonna be in high school, you know, so I'm gonna be making sure that he's ready to go and ready to get into whatever he wants to do. If it's going to college, you know, I think I would push him to go to college and pursue that degree. But, you know, he actually wants to be in design. He's an architect, dude. If you ask him, he's an architect. That's all he thinks about all day. He builds things all day. He's trying to build a roller coaster in my backyard. So like, if I can be what other people see in me to my kids, because I know people look at me and they light up, and I love it, man. It's cool. That means that I'm inspiring something within them. If I can inspire something positive with my kids and my family, and just, I don't really care where I'll be, honestly, because I know I'll be happy and I'll be good to go. But, you know, I think there's some unfinished business with wrestling. I want to knock that out. And I do want to be at the top of this wrestling thing, this wrestling paradigm. And I'm friends with all the guys who are at the top of it now. So, you know, I want to make sure that I'm using my friendship with those guys to make sure that our sport changes in positive ways, so we can create more pathways for success for everybody within our sport.
There you go again with the big words like paradigm. Damn you, Nate. Damn it. I can't talk to people like that. First minutia, then paradigm. Stop it. Well, you know what? Honestly,
I got my encyclopedia right here.
Yeah. Right here. Whatever, man. But to be honest, you inspired me, and I knew that it was going to be like this because I could just tell by just the way you've talked and doing my little research on you, man. I mean, you are nothing but an inspiration. And hold on. Before we get out of here, though, any more kids?
So I actually have a vasectomy. So I don't know if that's how you wanted to end the interview or not. But, only way I'm getting more kids is if I go reverse it. And I think I'm good. I think I did it, man. 4 kids. You know, Rachel gave me those kids. I think I did it. I think 4 is enough, man.
That was funny. That was what I was gonna say at the end. I was like, maybe you should get a vasectomy. Maybe that should be your next wrestling match. But hey, you beat me to it. So, hey, man, yeah. I think it's great. Seriously, man. Nate Jackson, if you guys weren't inspired from this guy, like I told you before the show, man, I got on my bicycle and it was hurting, and I said, you know what? I say Nate Jackson. And all I said was Nate Jackson, because whenever I interview a wrestler, I just feel like I have to be as tough as you guys mentally, and you inspired me, my brother, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. You have the minutia, you have the paradigm. I don't know if I'm using that right, because I didn't go to Princeton, I went to public school. But anyway, regardless of the fact, I will be rooting for you in everything you do, because you are that inspiration to people. You are that. And I just want to say thank you so much for being who you are. Much continued success, my brother. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Give your family my love. Give Princeton my love. Tell Quincy I'm mad at him. Thank you guys for watching Tales from a Gemini. BT. And like we say about this time, you know the word. Peace.